Okay, I'd like to call to order Policies and Priorities Committee meeting, November 12th, 2019. Any additions to the agenda? Okay, approval of the agenda, please. Councilor Majinski.
That the Tuesday, November 12th, 2019 Policies and Priority Committee meeting agenda be approved as presented.
Seconder, Councilor Kirby. All in favor? Okay. Adoption of minutes, October 15th, 2019 Policies and Priorities Committee meeting minutes. Recommendation, please. Councilor Lehman.
That the Tuesday, October 15th, 2019 Policies and Priorities Committee meeting minutes be adopted as presented.
Seconder, Councilor Kirby. All in favor? Carried, thank you. Any business arising from the minutes, excuse me? Staff? Thank you. No petitions or delegations tonight. Consent agenda. Instead of this recommendation for information, I'd like to move that we move 6.2 for discussion, please. Seconder, Councilor Kirby. All in favor? Carried, thank you. So I just wanted to open the discussion. I hope everyone had a chance to read the letter from Mr. Shimke. This is an email correspondence from Mr. Shimke to Mayor Bertrand dated October 31st, 2019. Thanking council for meeting with him and Sebastian Goupel and providing information about the Coalition of Inclusive Municipalities. So basically I just want to ask council if they are in support of this and if they would like me to sit on this coalition. It is a very extensive mandate, I would say. The toolkit is 175 pages or something. So if I think this, in my opinion, I think this is a good opportunity to really get involved with UNESCO and maybe start leveraging the UNESCO brand a little bit more. That was recommended by Sebastian. Yeah, what are council's thoughts? Councilor Majinski.
Thank you, Mayor Bertrand. I think it's a great opportunity for us. As long as there's a lot of education coming out of it for our community, for our residents. I think that's probably number one priority. So everybody's on board and know what's going to be entails with having a UNESCO status and being part of the coalition, and can bring more events or doctors or whoever else in town. So.
Councilor Kalka.
Yeah, I guess my question would be on page 10 there where it talks about the declaration of commitment. Just curious for staffing for Mr. Wall. Obviously there's which can require financial and or human resources. You know, I'm assuming we'd be looking at implementing this for the next budget, but I mean, what you know, toolkit's right there. I'm just curious if you know, if staff's had a chance to look at it, kind of looking at another employee we're going to need, half-time employee. What kind of financials commitment in regards to labor and stuff like that. I think that's something staff should be looking through and you know, just so when he comes in for 2020 budget that, you know, he needs another part-time employee to oversee some of this documentation they have available.
Well, and before we go to Mr. Wall, that is a good point, and realistically, council needs to decide if they want to be a part of this, and if this is, you know, initiatives that we want to try and bring forward in our community. You know, we are becoming a lot more diverse. There are some good initiatives here, but it's I think it would be extensive as well. So it would have to be a commitment of council to try and implement a lot of these initiatives within our communities. Councilor Kirby.
Thank you, Mayor Bertrand. Yeah, I think this document is really going to give council, you know, put council in the place to make sure that respect and promote human rights and provide residents with a safe and inclusive environment. I think we do need to look over that plan a little more before we jump right in, because it seems like there's a lot to do before we can, you know, we have to look at all the steps to it, I think, a little bit closer. I think it is a step in the right direction. I think we could, you know, move to go forward or look like, you know, give the report to staff, let them have a look. We can have it at another meeting. Everybody read over a little more. Like, I got into it, but there's a lot to it.
Absolutely, yeah. Mr. Wall, have you had a chance to look at the toolkit at all?
Briefly, not in any depth where I could say I would know how much resources it's going to take, but generally what these are is a fairly extensive framework that needs to be placed over a lot of different departments within the district. It's not saying it can't be done. What I would say is, if maybe echo what Councillor Kirby was saying, just if we want to go down this path, make sure Council's comfortable with the amount of time this is going to take up. Not that the benefits may be worth it, but it will be a fairly significant initiative for us to do.
Okay. Yeah, okay, well, why don't we table this a little bit, and both myself and staff can have a look at the toolkit a little bit more, and bring it back next meeting maybe. Okay. I'd like to move 6.3 for discussion as well. Seconder, Councillor Kirkowka, all in favor? Carried. So, it was a good meeting with Mr. Trevina in Vancouver. We did talk about wanting to become part of this golf cart pilot project, and it did say the letter received that ministry will be working with us for that. So has anybody contacted you, Mr. Wall, in regards to that?
Not yet, but I wouldn't expect it until near spring next year.
Okay. I'll have to follow up on that. And as far as ATV on the roadways, what I gathered from our meeting in Vancouver were the ATV tires were the issue. Golf cart tires are all pretty standard, and the ATV tires, they're all over the place. And it seemed to me from the minister that was the issue with allowing ATVs on the roadways. But speaking with Councillor Kalka earlier, I don't think the minister really understands what we're trying to initiate here. You know, we're not trying to drive our ATVs to the grocery store. We're trying to cross a street to get to the trail access. So I think it would be worth a follow-up meeting request with the Ministry of Transportation to really show them a detailed plan of exactly what we're trying to accomplish here and what steps we've put in place to try and move forward on this, and hopefully it'll give them a better understanding of what we're trying to initiate as far as the ATVs go. Councillor Norbury?
Yeah, I agree with you, Mayor, in that I think it might need a little more explanation in what we're looking for. And I understand that there is concerns about ATV use on roadways, but I think we need to get across them that we're just looking for, you know, permitted, handing out these permits to allow people access to trails from their home, you know, the closest one from them. There's a couple of other communities that have done it, and I've reached out to. Honestly, there's been a few, some communities say it's fine, others say, well, it's being abused. So there's a little bit of mixed reviews depending on what it is. And but I think I'm really excited about this golf cart potential. I really hope that we can get them on board with that, because yeah,
There are a lot of golf carts in town, I know that. Councillor Kalka.
I'm wondering if we should direct staff to reach out to the ministry. I mean, it says how they're gonna reach out. I've asked local ministry staff to follow up with you directly. Instead of waiting till spring, I mean, the spring is when we wanna have it, that pilot project in place. You know, we should be working on this now, whether it's winter or fall right now. It feels like spring, but I think we should be reaching out to them.
Motion for those.
So I'll make a recommendation that we ask staff to reach out to the local ministry staff, mentioned in the letter from the Ministry of Transportation in regards to the golf cart pilot project.
Seconder. Councillor Norbury. More discussion. Councillor Majin.
I'd like to make a suggestion about the ATV usage, and maybe have a highlighted map of where our ATV trails are in existence and where the trailheads are, because we already have ATV trails all over town, and maybe the Ministry of Transportation doesn't know that we have them within our town, within our community, all around. So
That's what I'm expecting, yeah. That follow-up meeting is an opportunity for us to really explain what we have and what we'd like to implement as well. Councilor Cook.
Not to be disrespectful to Councilman Jinsky, but we have a recommendation on the phone, we should be discussing that. And if we want to talk ATV, then again, no disrespect, we want to talk ATV afterwards, and I want to mention some ATV stuff too, but there's a recommendation on the floor that we should be discussing. If there's a debate.
Yep. Okay, any more comments on the motion? Mr. Wall?
Yeah, I just wanted to let you know that on the staff level, we've met with ministry staff on the golf course and requested a meeting already, so I'll follow up with that request, as well as reach out to the contact provided in this letter.
Yeah, I think what the motion is looking for is a letter to the minister. Is that
Reach out to them. Phone call, email.
Yeah.
It's the local ministry. She says right in here, I've asked local ministry staff to follow up with you directly to discuss in more detail. If you're interested in a pilot project allowing golf course to operate within the community. So whoever that is.
Okay. Call to question on the motion. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Councilor Kalka?
Yeah, again, I apologize, Councilman Jinsky.
no, sorry.
Again, just in regards to ATV, Councilman Roberts kind of hit it. I think the same thing. We should be asking for an in-person meeting, wherever, whether it's the deputy ministers or whatever. Take the map down, like Councilman Jinsky said. Show them what we've been working on, and with the group that was here when the RCMP were at this table. Staff was here at the table. We talked about exactly what we were looking for. I think if they see maybe that detailed map of what we're looking to go down past 3 houses across the street onto a trail and see you later. I think the way I read it is it's same concept. They're thinking about going to the grocery store or the gas station. I don't think that's what any of this council's looking for. It's just to access those trails that we've got so close to our residents. I mean, we built a new trail. We put in 4 ways, 3 ways to make this possible. We should
Yep.
really show it to them.
Yeah, so there's a couple opportunities for meetings. We can certainly try to get a meeting in Victoria. There's also, I'm not sure if transportation comes to the Natural Resource Forum or not. I don't remember her being there last year, but that's another opportunity for minister meetings as well as likely into February. So, Mr. Wall, did you need a motion for a letter to request a meeting there?
Are you looking, but are you looking to request a meeting with the minister or just the local ministry staff? Because the local ministry staff, just let council know, we are working with them on this, we'll continue. I'm not sure if there's miscommunication between that level and the minister, but at the local level with who we're working with, they understand what we're asking for. They're not,
As far as ATV use?
as far as ATV use goes, yes.
And what's the response you've been getting from them?
No. The response is, the police are basically doing, in Tumbler Ridge, the police are doing what the program was meant to do, and to expand beyond that, if there's detachments that want to do that, then they're able to. There is a community that's simply started issuing those permits outside of any provincial authority to do so, and they've taken on the liability to do that. But as far as going with the ATVs, the response has been the insurance vehicle required for this will take, the research on the insurance vehicle is in the insurance product that's needed in order to insure the ATVs when they're going on the municipal roads to get. The review of that is too costly, and until the ministry wants to approve that type of money, there's nothing they can do. So we'll continue working at the local level, and I think that it's time to have those meetings again, but likely what I'll be doing back to you guys and saying, no, this is something you're going to have to get direction from the political level of the ministries to get that funding moving.
Okay. Insurance is an issue. Okay. Councilor Kalka?
Yeah, my thought is going right back to the Minister of Transportation or the deputy. I know I attended the one at the UBCM. I think she was misunderstanding what we're looking for. Maybe there's lots of communities looking for the same thing. But I mean, we put a lot of money in of taxpayers' dollars to try to make this possible. And I think it's worth taking a map down like we've had that staff produced and show them exactly face to face exactly what we're doing. I mean, when I listened to her at the UBCM, it was, she thought we wanted to drive around town. And I don't think anybody with an ATV is looking at doing that.
Councilor Lehman?
Thank you, Mayor Bertrand. The only problem is somebody on Cottonwood is going to be driving on district roads, and they're going to have to cross Willow in order to get to the trailhead. So you can have access for these ATVs, but sooner, somebody's gonna have to be traveling on district roads in order to get there.
Councillor
There's
Burkowski.
a trailhead right behind Pinewood, Crescent or whatever it is. There's a trailhead right there. Cotton would not have to travel across Willow. There's one right behind that. Comes right out on our ATV trail that we have posted as an ATV trail along Mackenzie.
Yeah, they would still cross at the lights.
When they come on the trail, we can cross there now, those lanes to stop, and that's by provincial statute you can do. That's why the four-way stop, you can cross there as well.
Councillor Norbury.
So, I apologize. I've reached out to a few communities about this issue because I'm not much of an ATV user, so I'm trying to reach out to communities that have done this. So, the head of the ATV club in Elkford said that they talked to the manager of the BC Off-Road Vehicle Act, as well as ICBC and the provincial level of RCMP to get this system in place that they have down now. And I believe in talking with their mayor, they actually had a map and said, if you live here, this is where you go and this is how you get there. So like to set up the framework, but that's definitely what we need to do. But yeah, I mean, if Elkford has had success talking with, the BC Off-Road Vehicle Act person, ICBC, and the provincial level of the RCMP, and it's something we want to do, maybe this is the
Well,
direction we
that's
can go
the
in.
frustrating part is there is a project or a pilot in place in Elkford that's working. So whatever we need to do, we'll do, but we're just getting told it's not possible. Right?
Now, the other side to that is, from the head of the ATV club down there, they say they have a lot of issues with what's happening down there. Is that there's a lot of unlicensed riders, a lot of underage riders, and their warning was that all it takes is one unlicensed rider to have an accident to have this blow up in his face. So, it is a double-edged sword going down this road.
Right. So Councillor Burkowski, did you want to make a motion to request a letter for a meeting for the minister? Or with the minister?
I'll make that.
Second. Councillor Majinski, all in favor? Carried, thank you. Okay. Moving on, no reports. Discussion items, 8.1. Strategic plan review. So this is brought up today just to give us an overall update of the strategic plan for 2019 and also give council an opportunity to add some things or talk about strategic planning for 2020. So just going through council, Building Healthy Communities Committee annual report coming before the end of the year. Mayor's Task Force on Health Needs annual report.
I'm going to talk to Mr. Wall, and we're going to try and.
Yep. I'm sure Councillor Howe would be able to help you with that as well. Volunteer Appreciation Ad Hoc Committee. Councillor Kakalka, would you mind if Councillor Lehman chaired that committee? So Councillor Lehman, if you wouldn't mind calling a meeting. And Mr. Wall, that committee would very much appreciate the input of the community center members that put together the volunteer appreciation dinner. So if they could help out in any way with that committee, that would be great.
Yeah. Connect later.
Caribou backcountry issues. I sent a report out or just an update of a phone call with Mr. Leckstrom last week there. He had spoken with the Premier. The Premier told him that the PRRD has been given a seat at the leadership table. The chair has chosen the vice chair to represent the PRRD. But still haven't got any invitations out yet. I've seen a post here from concerned citizens on Caribou Recovery that they're hoping to have the meeting by the end of the month. So I assume that invitations are coming soon. The CAO So asset management progress, the vehicle depreciation policy is complete. But we are continuing the asset management program to try and inventory it all. Is that correct, Mr. Wall?
Yeah, so right now we've identified that we believe about $90,000 in grants that we'll be able to access next year. And we're doing a information analysis right now to see how much information we have, how much information we need. The results of that analysis will inform just how long this is going to take. I think we're going to be just fine, but when we find that out, then we'll know just how big of a mountain it is we need to climb. But I've been pretty confident that the data we have on almost all of our assets is pretty solid, except for our buildings. But with working with Mr. Pisani, I think we're going to be okay to catch up on that for next year. But buildings, to me, is going to be the one that I don't want to say with confidence is going to be completely completed by the end of next year, but everything else should be.
But the building envelopes should be coming back to council.
Building envelopes will be coming back to council in spring of next year for decisions and construction in 2021.
Okay. And that reasoning for that year layoff is to give Mr. Pisani a little more opportunity to have a good look at buildings. He's got a lot of experience in that area, so.
And we need to refresh our assessments. The building assessments are old now. I think they're over 5 years old. So if we're going to be moving forward in 2 years, that'd be 7 years between assessment and construction. We need to assess again.
Okay. As we're going through any of these, if there's anything that council would like to add, either of these headings, please let me know. Fairgrounds decommission design, so that is complete. Is Vestas completely out of there now, Mr. Wall?
They're completely out except for they're removing a tank from the ground, and they said they weren't sure if they'd be able to fill that hole given the weather. I said that's fine, just make sure it's clearly marked because we don't want anybody getting hurt. But I think given the thaw that we're experiencing, that should probably be done. On this one, I think it'd be good for council to have a discussion. It's here as complete because council, you deadlocked. And deadlocked was the decision was to just leave it as a field and that's it. I'm not sure if that's the final state that you guys want that decision to be. If it is, then we're done. If not, staff needs new direction on what we're supposed to do.
So as far as this whole situation, is it barricaded off with snow fence or anything?
I've asked them to make sure it's protected.
And the fence, is it open or is it locked or?
It's open right now, I believe.
Okay, so technically it's open for the public to use.
Yeah, it's going to be closed off and then it's going to be, the hole's going to be clearly marked for danger.
Okay. What are council's thoughts on that? So as far as the gravel and topsoil replacement, is that taking place or no?
Yep. Yeah, so the area that's going to be gravel's been left gravel. The area that's going to be topsoiled has been topsoiled and seeded, so it just needs to grow. But as far as the fairgrounds decommission or the design, council deadlocked at your last meeting and couldn't really decide where to go. And for us, the decision that we took from that meeting was it's to be used as a fairgrounds as is. And if that's what council wants to do, that's great. But if not, then we need more. We need something else.
I think that's been the decision of council at this point in time. I think a grassy area like that has many opportunities for portable tents or whatever it might be for any kind of event that anybody wants to put on within town. I think the biggest reason we're kind of at a stalemate is I have a feeling that council isn't willing to put district money into creating structure there. So I think it serves a purpose. It may turn into a dog park this spring, but I don't know. But it's for public use. It's recreational land, right? So, Councilor.
Thank you, Mayor Bertrand. I think it might be a good idea to keep it locked throughout the winter, as well as spring, just because of the grass and the seeding. If somebody can drive around in there right now, they can just tear up all that grass and soil. So I think it should give it some time to let it settle. let it spring, get all the moisture out of the ground, let it grass grow up before we have people in there, driving in there with ATVs or
It's a good
vehicles or having their dogs run around in there.
It's a good point.
Yeah, I'd like to put a motion out to have the gate locked and the asbestos lay down new fairgrounds design area,
The laydown area.
lay down area.
Seconder, Councillor Lehman. Any other discussion on it? Councillor Norbury?
Maybe we should make an amendment to have, like, for the period of time. We were talking about wanting it locked up till after spring. I think that's a good idea, but as it stands now, it's just locked.
Locked up till spring.
Sense to add in a time frame?
Yeah, we had a time frame.
Make an amendment to,
Mr. Wall?
I'm pretty comfortable with council is that we can probably handle this, we can secure the area, that's our plan, and council doesn't need to quite worry about that.
Okay. Yeah, I wasn't aware of that, so that's a good idea. Do we need the motion then, or that's your plan?
Yep.
Okay. Very well. Councillor Kirkcalkin?
So a second,
Just,
so we'll have to defeat it.
yeah.
Okay. All in favor? Opposed? Defeated. Fine. Task management system implementation. Mr. Wall, can you update us on that?
Yeah, and so on some of these larger issues, I've got a report that you guys are going to be getting Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday when the close come out. But this one is just with the 2 senior managers coming in, we need to implement this across the whole district. So it's been it hasn't been the right time to implement it quite yet. Looking at next year, I'm not sure next year is going to be the year either. We did our budgeting system this year. Next year, it's the asset management system. I think the year after that's probably going to be task management. It's one of those things that's going to take a lot of people working together, and it's not something you want to start half and then drop and pick up and move forward. It is something that we could reprioritize, but the reprioritization needs to come at the expense of the asset management. So if council wants to say this is the priority, we would do asset management at the side and prioritize this, or we prioritize asset management and put this off to the side a little bit. My recommendation is to prioritize asset management. I think that there's grants out there that we can get. I think we have the right things in place, and the province has already let us know that some of these grant funds that are going to come out are going to be tied to strong asset management plans. So I think next year's the year to really put the effort into getting that caught up and completed.
Okay. Yeah, I do think it's a very important system, though. I think it should definitely stay on the radar. So, I agree, asset management is a very important issue. Councillor Kirkcalkin?
Yeah, so maybe you can just fill me in here. So this strategic plan timeline, are we gonna go through them one by one? Or if we have issues or concerns, we're gonna bring them?
Well, here's the thing. If we don't go through them one by one, we get to December and there's complaints that we haven't done any strategic planning. So we have a strategic plan in place here, we have for the whole year, and it's very organized, it's broken down by departments, but I get complaints that we're not strategic planning. So does council have any issues with any or questions with the strategic plan? Councillor Kirkcalkin?
So I guess I have two different opinions. I understand, to me, the strategic plans, we'll get together on a Saturday afternoon, talk about wants. And to me, it's not strategic plans, but it's what the council wants to do in 2020. You know, that gets, directed to staff to get a budget cost. Maybe that budget number is too high for council to go forward with, so it doesn't get into the budget. It doesn't go into the strategic plan for staff to work. But to me, I read through this one, this is, stuff that has been put forward for more than 1 year for staff to work on. Slowly, obviously, to me, they got lots done, and Mr. Wall just mentioned there's stuff they're working on. But to me, I don't want to say it's capital, but it's like a want. We sit around, we call it strategic planning, maybe that's the wrong wording for it. But to me, that's where council sits around, throws out some ideas of what council's ideas are for 2020. Maybe side more trailways, which Mr. Wall supplied a map to everybody's wicket to come in, and we talked about that last time. Councilor Norbury looking at me, but maybe Councilor Norbury wants to build something. Maybe he wants to, I don't know, maybe it's a drive-in movie theater. So that's where council would, we'd say, yeah, we like the idea, let's get a report back from staff. To me, that's to me is what I'm like, this to me is strategic planning for sure, there's always gonna be that on stuff staff is gonna continuously work on, whether it's asset management and stuff like that. There's also the wants from council that they wanna see in the next 3 years.
For capital projects. Right.
So to me, it's, whether it's the wording's wrong, we've got to talk about strategic plan, but to me, that's a separate meeting. I went through, if other council wants to bring stuff up, I have not. Going one by one, unless Mr. Wall's got some points to make to certain items in here that he just talked about the last one, in the task management system. To me, we're always a lot of time on one.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. This strategic plan is all council directed as well.
Right.
Everybody understands that, right? This isn't just a staff timeline. Councillor Norwood?
I see the benefit to both ways. Looking through all of our strategic plan, I mean, a lot of this stuff is laid out very well, and I feel that most of my wants and desires are reflected in this report. And keeping in mind, there's only so much that we can actually do, right? If we, the more that we add, something's gonna fall off the end of the table. Now, I'd be concerned if we just come up with a wish list. Something that we want to get done won't get done, and I think the strategic plan presented, very well done. I'm excited for the next 3 years of this council and what we're able to get done.
I agree. I think our first year has been very busy. We've definitely put our staff to the test, and they've come out very well. I guess I've got a couple of questions as far as the entrance signs, Mr. Wall, where are we at with those?
We have final plan by council announced, so we're preparing our tendering documents. I expect the tendering documents to go out February, March, in construction in spring and summer. Happy to announce.
20?
2020.
Good job.
Okay, perfect.
Mayor Bertrand, would
Sorry.
you like me to rip through this and just highlight important things that have kind of come up or information that council may want to know?
Yeah,
Would that be helpful?
Councillor Kirby?
Oh, thank you, Mayor. I was just gonna raise a question on the for sale signs on lots. So to be determined, so is that something that staff is already working on? Do we need to give direction on that? Just an update on that one.
Yeah, that was one of my questions too.
Yep. So anything on here you've given direction to get done, not entrance signs, for lot sale signs, we need a policy on it. Right now, the ECDev department is working for the December 9th meeting to get the next report on rural residential lots. And so we're gonna have this to you guys sometime early in the new year, with time to have it included in budgeting. The signs I would expect to be up after the snow melts in spring, should council wanna go in that direction.
Okay. Councillor Kirby?
Thank you. Is that also including signs for property for sale down in the downtown core?
That's correct. So the policy will come to you guys and you'll decide where you want to put it. But my understanding, at least the first draft of the policy coming to you will be to have signs up on all district-owned property which has been approved by council for sale. So we are not, administration's not able to sell land unless council has voted to authorize it for disposition. And so what we would do would be to look at all that land that you guys have authorized for disposition and probably place for sale lots on, or for sale signs on all those lots.
Okay. Another question on the airport terminal assessment.
Yes.
What are we looking at? Like, what kind of situation are we in at the airport there? And I guess my question to council is maybe start to think, do we need an airport still? It's
Yeah.
very costly to operate.
Let me just pull out the number. I will give you a yearly depreciation amount for the airport, but we're looking at over $1 million that needs to be invested into it.
Okay. Councillor Cow.
So is this report coming to council and it says complete?
Yeah, it'll be coming to count.
So there'll be a report coming to council in regards to the terminal and all that stuff. And when you say, do we need an airport? I'm sorry, if I was having a heart attack, I'd say I need an airport. Or any resident of this community.
Did you have some? No. I thought I seen your hand, sorry. What else? Steep Rock strata service levels, question for Mr. Wall, have they, sorry?
If we wish to speak on Steep Rock, I'd like to step up.
Yeah, that's okay, I'll save my question for later. Golf course boundary issues, Mr. Wall, so we did obtain the right of way to the golf course road?
That's correct. There's a report for information coming on your next regular meeting, but we have obtained the right of way to that road, so we can, when council's ready, move on upgrading and repairing that road and not have to worry about it being taken down by the provincial government.
Does that include the golf course boundary issues as
Yep.
well?
Yeah, everything's been taken care of, so we should be able to sell that property without having to worry about those issues as well.
And what was the issue with the ownership of the road?
The provincial government owned it, and we had never secured a right of way on it. So basically, it was provincial land, and if the province ever came in and said, "You can't have a road here, or we'd like you to move," we may have just invested $1.5 million into a road that we had to tear up right away. So it was just we didn't think it was going to happen, but for that amount of money, it was worth waiting to make sure. So now that we have it, we can safely move forward with repairs when the time is right. I'm not
Okay.
saying that has to be next year, but we can do it when we're ready.
Okay. Does any other council have any other questions about the strategic plan, Council Palka?
Yeah, I guess this is got a question. I'm just curious when we rate complete, so we can use the golf course boundary issue. It says complete. Are we better off maybe put in there stating coming before council? Report coming before council instead of just complete, so we know those are reports coming? I mean, I assume there's a report coming,
Yeah.
but it might take, uncertainty when we're going through this. This is not the only time you see this. It's on our agendas lots, so just wonder if maybe instead of putting complete, we could put the, because some are complete. So like our ice use policy, that is complete.
Yeah.
So obviously there's nothing coming forward to council, but on that boundary, when if there's a report coming, and once staff does it, then it become complete.
Sure.
I'm not sure if that's possible or not, I don't know, to me, it might make it easier instead of,
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
noticed a couple of them, like the worship had mentioned there, and there's a report coming. One was the airport terminal assessment. It's complete, but a report's coming. And to me, if we have a report coming, and once it comes before council, then it's complete. Once we give direction,
I agree. Yeah.
that's an idea. Just
Council Kirby?
Thank you, Mayor Bertrand. I have a question on our summer program, our Play Escape program, through to Mr. Wall, if there was gonna be a report on that coming through. I know that I had talked to Mr. Wall about it, and maybe just something to add to this was how that program is run, how many people are enrolled, what's the cost to the district. I know it's very popular, just to get some feedback on that.
Yeah.
And then just one, I don't know where this would fall under, but just on your community events is for the last couple of years, we haven't had a parade in town, and maybe we should be looking at how we're gonna bring those kind of events back into the community. The haunted house, we've lost a couple of major ones this year, and I think we should start looking at how we're gonna, bring some of those events back that, kind of make Tumblr.
Yeah, I think we approved a parade for Canada Day 2020.
Okay.
And Mr. Wall, I think that report would be very beneficial to all of us to get a better understanding of that summer program. I know it was very well attended. People that chose to put their kids into it were very appreciative of it for sure. So, Mr. Wall.
Yeah. Update on Playscape, not a problem. Parade might be a good thing to add to the strategic plan that you want to see a parade come back. We do have a report that we plan to bring to you in the spring on options for summer events, because we've noticed that as well. We've lost a number of events over the past couple of years, so we have some ideas that we're talking about internally, and we'll bring a report in addition to the strategic plan if council wants to and that change to the
Councilor Kirby.
Thank you. One more thing, just, on the hockey camp package ice installation, I know the previous meeting that I wasn't available to attend, there was talk about a legacy fund. Is that something that we implement into our strategic plan just to keep, on top of it so that we can keep hosting events. And I know it's, when we mentioned, I know Councillor Majinski mentioned, you know, the importance for Hockey Canada to see, you know, us follow through and, you know, improve and on the money that's brought in through that, so.
Yeah, so the legacy that they were planning is to put on a program with the high school, schools for ball hockey. And I think they were planning on using the equipment. Is that correct, Mr. Wall?
That's correct. And then also when it comes to creating a legacy fund, that's something that we can easily do. I think we just create the legacy fund out of our funds and then use those funds to do arena related upgrades that we are planning to do. So, you know, we can create a legacy fund and we get the new bleacher seats in. We can create a legacy fund the next time, and then instead of drawing it out of general revenue, we draw it out of that specific fund in order to upgrade the dressing rooms or replace the mats or get new nets, whatever it happens to be. But yeah, no, that would be a good thing to add to your strategic plan as well. So I'd say parade and this would be something to recommend for addition.
Councilor Norbert, or sorry, Councilor Kalka.
My thoughts are, I thought we made a recommendation last summer in regards to the parade already. And it was for the Canada Day parade. So why would we add it to our strategic plan? If it's already been direction given by council to staff.
Yeah, as far as I remember, we did add that. If you want to double check that, Mr. Wall.
Yeah.
But I think that is the plan, is to prepare for a parade on Canada Day. Councilor Norbury.
Yeah, and I think this, if we're looking for more like events, we're looking for like single day big events during the summertime. This could be an opportunity for us to put an ask to our our Let's Talk meeting when we're talking with our nonprofits and sort of say, okay, well, this is what, and maybe we can coordinate them all. Like, this is what we're hoping that we can do. Have some big events over the summer, and we can ask if we can get some of those groups together to put something on. You know, I know the Chamber of Commerce used to put on, you know, our Canada Day celebrations. I'm not saying this is something that they should take on again, but it's an example of some organizations can, you know, just take something and run with it. So I mean, that's an opportunity to see what's there.
I agree. It's a good idea. Okay, any other discussion about the strategic plan? Any other questions? Okay, moving on to 8.2, grant writing. Requested by Mayor Bertrand to discuss the future of grant writing within the district or external. So this was forwarded from October 15th meeting. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to attend. So we did have a report from a grant writer, chamber manager. Pretty impressive, quite a bit of work done there. But really the question I wanted to ask council was, do we want to continue? We do have a 3-year term with the chamber at the moment, but are we happy with the grant writing, or do we want to move to a staff member district? There's also an opportunity for a contractor, or there's a grant writer with the PRRD as well. So, Councillor Norbert.
I'll start off the conversation in that I certainly don't think that we should have a staff member doing this. In that, I think that is a dangerous position to put anyone in that. I mean, you tell them that everyone has the same playing field, but when you're put in a position that there's a lot of district grants to go for, or other community grants to go for, I'd be concerned about putting them into a tough situation that they'd have to choose either the organization they're employed by or another organization. So having a contractor do it, I think, is more beneficial in that they can decide first come first serve basis, and then also just the optics of it. I mean, I would be concerned that people would just assume that a district grant writer would only do the district ones first, and there would always be that avenue of concern for people to voice, well, my grant wasn't done on time, or it wasn't done to the best of ability because of this is a district person. Whether that be the case or not, I don't think it would be, but I think it puts them in a tough position. So I think
To avoid conflict, basically, is what you're thinking.
Yeah.
Okay. Councillor Kalka.
Yeah, so just get some clarity from Councilor Norbert, because maybe I misunderstand it. So your concern is if it was done through the district, that whoever is the grant writer through the district would apply for that grant for the district, and not for the non-profit society. They would have to pick between the two. So if there was $300,000 available, you'd be more concerned that the district would be applying for the district part of it. So the district gets it used for whatever we're working on, instead of for that mountain bike association. I'm just curious if that's what we're talking about there.
Councillor Norbury.
I don't think I ever thought about it particularly in that regard. I'd be thinking of workload, right? There's 25 hours in a week, or 8 hours in a week, and there would be, well, I can only do 3 grants and I have 4 pending, right? What comes first, right? I don't think that's a fair position to put a district staff member in charge of when there are district grants that we're going for, and as well as the other organizations. I'd be concerned on their behalf, in that they would feel, or maybe they might not take advantage of that service because of potential.
Councillor Korkalka.
So, okay, I get your point now. I would think, as it is today, and I could be wrong, so Mr. Wall, hopefully through your worship, if you may, I would think today, if we apply for a grant, it's probably done by that department, I'll say. I could be wrong, but to me, if there's a rec grant out there, somebody from the rec side would apply for that grant. So to me, if we were, and I'm not saying we are, but if it was to be an employee of the district of Tunbridge that council decides to hire to do grant writing, if that's the wishes, they would only work on grants for the non-profit societies, is my thoughts, or my opinion. But I'd like clarity if that's how it works for the district grant. I believe we don't go through our district grant writer, or the grant writer today.
Mr. Wall.
I'd say the majority of grants that we apply for are applied for as you said, with the department that is going to be using the funds. That's not to say we never utilize the grant writer, we do on certain occasions, but for the most part, the grants that we apply for from the district, we apply for internally from the departments, yes.
Yeah, it looks to me the majority of the grants to date are for all the nonprofits.
And sorry, that is what the program was designed for. The program where we're accessing this funds come from NDIT, the community grant writer. It is meant to be for the community groups. Again, there is capacity there for the municipality to use it, but a lot of the projects that we go, and again, not all, and we do use the grant writer, but a lot of the big dollar projects we go for are larger capital projects where just having the grant writer write them doesn't make sense because the technical requirements. It just makes sense for the department head or whoever's in charge of the project to do it. So it depends on the type of project, and again, that's not to say that the grant writer doesn't bring us ideas too of grants that we can find and apply for as well. So I don't want to make it seem like it's only one or the other. Yeah.
Councillor Korkalka.
So just on that, and I didn't have a chance to reach out to the grant writer today, I was a little busy, but due to it sounding like you were gonna make this meeting, we're gonna have this discussion. I've heard from a few organizations within the district of Tunbridge that have had maybe grants assisted with, but closely meeting the timeline or submitting after the timeline. I'm just curious, I mean, I know she's here and I don't expect her to speak, but I'm gonna reach out to her, because I'm curious if that's true or if that's just the feeling of some organizations, but that's my understanding. So I think, to me, if we're gonna put this back out, and whether we just send it to the chamber for grant writing, or we're actually gonna send it out and take bids on grant writing, I think that's something that needs to be put in, and I'm not sure what's in that contract in regards to grant writing, and how they do it or don't do it for their organization, or if they just assist the organization, but making sure that we hit those timelines. I mean, to me, if we have a grant writer that's being paid for through other funds that we get to pay for the grant writing, we should be making sure we're hitting timelines. I'm not saying that they're not hitting timelines, but my understanding from a few organizations is they've missed the timeline or went in just after. So I think that can be a concern as well.
We can follow up with that. Did you have something, Councillor Norbury?
Yeah, I'll follow up. I mean, maybe I'm a little cynical, but I think so. I reiterate again that I don't think this is something that we want to take on, a bullseye for, essentially, right? Another thing for people to say, oh, well, the district didn't do this for me, or the district didn't do that for me. I think in these situations, it is best practice to have another organization do it for us, and we can get them paid for it. I'm not against. I do like the idea of maybe putting out to RFP, because then that gives an opportunity for other people to do it. But you know, again, I don't think it's something that we, as a district, should be taking liability and concern over.
Councilor Majinski?
Thank you, Mayor Bertrand. I think we should look at what the grant writer is, the entire scope of what they're supposed to do. In regards to certain organizations or groups, maybe the grant writer doesn't know the proper terminology, lingo, just like, say, we get a grant through the ECDEV, they go and apply for it. This one here too, maybe we should have a more of a open-ended conversation with the grant writer and say, okay, if you're gonna apply with a certain organization, work one-on-one together, not over email or for phone, but work together on the grant as one, instead of like trying to take it on as their own, trying to figure out, get all the facts, information, and what that organization is trying to get out of the grant writer, if that makes any sense.
Yep.
I think instead of us saying, oh, well, we can push them into this direction and say, hey, help these guys out, help them out, but make sure that there's that common communication there within the organization and the grant writer. And I think as a generalization of it, there shouldn't be too much more that we should tell what the grant writer to do. Like, there's not a set amount of time, like how many grants to write, how many hours per grant. There's none of that. So I don't think that should be any of our, personally, my opinion is we shouldn't dictate how many hours they should be spending on each individual grant, whether it's a dollar figure amount for $5,000 or $50,000 or $500,000. That's just my opinion. So I don't know if we should have
Yeah, no,
any solid direction there.
I'm certainly not looking to give any direction to the chamber as far as grant writing goes. I just requested a report of all the grants that had been applied for and worked on, and wanted to bring it before council to discuss if we were, you know, if we had any other ideas or if there are other options for the grant writing as well. No, I think discussion there. Councilor Kirby?
Thank you, Mayor Bertrand. So, I mean, we've got quite a few of our groups using the grant writer. So the district right now, through a fee for services, is funding that. So the only thing I look at is that if we're putting out money to the grant writer, what's our return on our investment? Are we getting to see a lot of these grants coming back? Are we getting money into our groups? Are they benefiting the groups? You know, that's my only concern. And that, you know, to be creative enough to write a grant that is going to stand out over other applications is key. So that's what you want. In any person you hire, anything you do is you want to see a really good, you know, you want to see a good return on your money. And so far, you know, I think everything's going well. Some of these grants I think are just, you know, they're continual, they're an easy, you know, you go off. But I mean, I'd like to see, you know, just, you know, some
Or progress report?
Yeah, and I think we should be looking at more of what, you know, it's giving the money, but let's really look at what, you know, we're getting back. I like the report. I'd like to see, you know, the amount, you know, what grants, you know, we've got the ones that we haven't got, but just an actual breakdown of
Success.
of the clocking of the hours, of the, you know, and the success rate.
Yeah, I agree with you, and that's really kind of why I wanted to bring this discussion forward, because, you know, to say we have a grant writer, yeah, that's great, but, you know, we just get a report now, and what are we looking for out of that report? And more of a progress would be definitely more beneficial, and even a success report as well would be more beneficial. The more information, the better, in my opinion. Councilor Majinski.
Thank you, Mayor Bertrand. Maybe it would be a good idea just to have a standardized quarterly follow-up report of what's been ongoing, what's in progress, what's been completed, something simple like that, just as a basis. And then if we're happy with that and what's acceptable for amount of grants that are applied for within a year, if it's, you know, 10, 15, 30, whatever, right? So.
Yeah, Mr. Wall.
So one of the things that the grant writer needs to do is submit and justify the amount of money to NDIT, so that will be coming soon. And I believe on those forms, like, what grant did you apply for, how much was the value, and then you track how much you're successful for, because we need to, as a district, and the grant writer needs to justify their salary back to NDIT, and that's where that program, the check and balance comes in that program, as NDIT does evaluate the grant writer to make sure they've applied for enough, they spent enough time doing it, and that they've brought enough money back to the community. So I don't know if council needs to, you can, but I'm not sure you need to double up on that level of oversight, because NDIT is already taking care of it there. That's something that we can share back with council. I think it's due in about a month. So when that is complete, we can share that with council if that'll make you feel more comfortable. Just a reminder that you do have one more year left with the chamber on your current fee-for-service arrangement. So, you know, there may be an opportunity to just get that information back over the next year to make sure that you guys are comfortable, because there is one more year, 2021, before the fee-for-service with the chamber does end.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think this discussion really starts the understanding of us all of what that position entails and what kind of measurements we have for it. And I didn't know NDIT did that as well. So yeah, that information would be very helpful. Sure. Councillor Lehman?
Thank you, Mayor Bertrand. Councillor Norbury was worried about maybe some,
Conflicts?
well, conflict, and also if we're not successful in getting a grant, then council would get the flack back for not getting that grant. But it doesn't matter. If we hire somebody to do the grants and they're not successful, we're ultimately responsible, because we hired those people to do the grants. If they're not successful, it's still on us. So it doesn't matter whether it's really not, whether or not it's done internally or not, we still are at risk of being blamed, no matter who does it, whether or not we do it internally or we hire somebody to do it. So that doesn't change.
Yeah, Mr. Wall.
Just one comment I think for council to think about. Again, it's over the next year. I like the way that we went to a 3-year agreement with the grant writer this time. One of the things that we need, just in looking at that position, as I have over the past while, is stability in the position. I know the chamber's had people come and go, so that a little bit of that stability is lost, but we spend money on these grant databases that take time and understanding on how to use properly. So being able to get into a 3-year agreement, either with a person or with a entity like the chamber, does help provide that stability where a person can become one, understanding of how to use the system, 2, the type of grants that are coming up. I think that is beneficial, because we did go through a period prior to the chamber getting this where we had somebody for a year, and then we had somebody for 6 months, and we had somebody for 9 months, and that never really worked out, because by the time they learn how to use these systems and get the training and move forward, they're gone. So structuring this in a way where you're getting stability, I think, is beneficial for the community, because it is not quite as easy as just, oh, I'm going to apply for grants. The grant writer needs to take the time, research, and find it. So that type of stability moving forward, consider this next year, is just something to keep in mind.
Yeah, I agree. Any other comments? This really was just an opportunity for a better understanding of the position, and also just wanted to give council an opportunity to discuss this as well. So, Councilor Kirk.
Thank you, Mayor Bertrand. Is there any need for courses or tools that the grant writer might need that we could provide, if that's something that can come up? There's just in budget time, there's something else that we can do to help make that job better or easier?
Mr. Wall.
Yeah, so we pay every year for access to the online grant database, which provides the training. And it's fairly in-depth training. I don't think it happens over half an hour. It's 3 or 4 hours a couple times in order to really understand how to completely use it. So I think we're okay on that front.
Okay.
Okay, any other comments? Okay, moving on to 8.3. This was another one that was deferred from last meeting. So a request by Mayor Bertrand to discuss district-owned industry as a source of revenue. So basically I wanted to start the conversation on starting to think about more economic diversification in our community. Right now we have coal, wind, a little bit of oil and gas, and tourism. And I think we need more. There's an opportunity with our community forest that we are a major shareholder in. At the moment, they are contracting everything. They hire contractors. They have very little staff and zero equipment. So, I mean, there's an opportunity to operate that for job opportunities, possibly move into equipment. That is an opportunity for a few jobs anyway. I think the tech sector, as far as our planned fiber install, hopefully next year, definitely open up some opportunities as far as the tech sector goes. To possibly a hard drive farm or something of that nature. But we need the connectivity up to standard for that, so it's definitely an opportunity I'm going to be pursuing hopefully in the next couple years. But I just wanted to kind of get the ball rolling with council and get some of your ideas of how we can diversify our economy more. Small business is very difficult to open in a community of 2,000 people. Population needs to be able to support small business and home-based businesses as well. But yeah, any thoughts would be appreciated. Councilor Majinski.
Thank you, Mayor Bertrand. Can you explain a little bit more about how you'd like the community forest to either expand or integrate into owning equipment? That kind of piques my interest for certain reasons, but can you elaborate more on that, like for harvesting of the lumber?
To begin with, I mean, the strategy of the community forest at the moment is to contract everything. All the equipment, all the logging, the trucks, everything is contractor. So there's no overhead as far as employees go. There's no overhead as far as machinery goes. And realistically, that's how they've been able to build that corporation to become very profitable as well. But you know, it's also an opportunity for our community if we're looking to create jobs. That is one way of doing it. Instead of using contractors, use your own employees. Councillor Norbury.
So on the topic of district-run companies, I think it's...
Not run. We don't run community forests. Like operate it.
Okay. Then, so I'll speak directly to the community forest. It comes down to capacity, right? Like when you try and force something to happen, like forcing, in this case, forcing a Tumbler Ridge local organization to start up to go out and harvest logs or start up a sawmill, I think that these things need to happen organically, right? In that, if there is somebody who's willing to take this on and is willing to do it, that's the best way to operate these things versus potentially putting the community forest in charge of now they're a sawmill or now they're a harvesting company, because then you're adding liability to adding costs. So the benefits of the organization as it stands now will decrease. And I just find like when an organization like that tries to, I just think when you try and force it, problems happen.
Yeah, I certainly wouldn't say force is the right word. I'm merely trying to brainstorm on some economic opportunities that we could possibly look at the next few years. So forcing the community forest to do anything is certainly not what I'm looking at. You mentioned that the cost would increase for that corporation. Yes, it would. But you mentioned that the benefits would decrease. I don't think the benefits would decrease. The profitability may decrease, but the benefits to the community by providing jobs would increase as well. So by saying the benefits would decrease, I disagree on that one. But it's merely a brainstorming session. So, Councillor Krapelka and Lehman.
So just on the community forest part, I see Councilor Norbury's concept there. My concept would be with the community forest is not cutting every day or every month. So when you start buying equipment, you got equipment sitting and then you're gonna be laying guys or girls off.
There's opportunity for leasing too.
Yeah, there is, and I'm just saying, like, that's what I see as community forest. I think, you know, if we're looking at trying to start up business as a council,
No,
assuming that's what you're thinking of, it's very tough. I mean, right now, we would ask the community forest to go and buy a harvester, hire a couple of people, run it. Maybe buy a couple logging trucks, ask community forest to hire a couple haul drivers. Now we're ordering more and more stuff, right?
yeah, like I wouldn't go that far as saying that I'm looking for council to ask the community forest to become a logging company. If council would be interested in that direction, my recommendation to the community forest would be, could you please create some local jobs somehow in your business model? Councilor Kirby?
Thank you, Mayor. I can kind of see where you're going. So say, this is just okay, so the community forest, we give them land to build a heated tent to grow our own trees. Then once they're grown, then our local students plant them. So something like that where you're harvest. So you're making jobs. We're a partner in the community forest. We have a tree nursery now. Then later on, when we're not growing trees, we're growing produce. You know, something like that that's district run, sustainable, and gives jobs. I don't know.
I like it. That's what I'm talking about here.
You know, off the.
Councilor Lehman.
Thank you, Mayor Bertrand. With TLE on the horizon, what about West Mole or even Soto? Maybe talking to them, see if they're interested in bringing something in that we could maybe join forces to see if something would come out. There's a few ideas, I'm sure, that would maybe make sense and employ some people.
Yep. West Moberly was discussing some business opportunities with us at one of our meetings there the end of last year, so that's definitely a good option. We're always looking for different business ideas. Councilor Norbury?
I think when it comes to any sort of industry, company, what have you, I think we need to leave that to the entrepreneurs, help them go from there. Right? We need a organization to say this is what we want to do, and then we help grow that, because I think that's the highest chance for success. You know, if
It's a problem though. If we try and help grow small business, we're not supposed to support small business or entrepreneurial type initiatives. Councilor Kirby?
Thank you, Mayor. I mean, it's done before. You look at, if you want to grow business, you got to give incentives. So what is it? Is it a tax breaks for so many years after you build? You know, what are those? Like, really, you know, you got to come up with
Maybe a package, like a incentive package.
incentive package. I mean, there's been areas where they say, oh, this year we're having a housing, a property sale for this, build your house by so-and-so time. You got to look at what are we trying to do here? We're trying to grow our population. We're creating jobs.
I think those are two of our biggest priorities, in my opinion, is trying to keep our residents employed in some degree, and trying to build our population. I think those are very big priorities. I like that idea of the incentives package. Mr. Wall, is our dev department, like I did see a few posts in that Invest Tumbler Ridge site there. They were awesome. They were really good, trying to attract business to town, but is there any kind of an incentive package that they've put together?
So we can't really offer incentive packages. We can offer revitalization tax credits, which if you purchase an already standing building, you'll be able to access, but beyond that, we have to sell at market value. We cannot assist your business. When we talk about assisting business, that's what they're talking about, is those type of incentive packages. We're not allowed to do that. Generally, as a municipality, you want to make sure the services are provided so businesses can succeed. You want to make your community livable so people want to be here, so the businesses have a customer base. What we do have in town is sell land very cheaply. We have to sell it at market value, but we can sell it for very, very low here because the market demands a very, very low price. And that's one of the things that we try and work with businesses and say, listen, you can come here and have that cheap land when you make your original capital purchase. So we do try and do those things. But as far as incentive packages go, there's not much we can do. We do information packages. Hey, we think this business would go well here. We think this business would go well here. We've had lots of people come and talk to us and look into it. Unfortunately, the success rate of attracting them and keeping them hasn't been, it's not huge. And honestly, a lot of that just has to do with when they come in and start taking a real good look at this. They look at our labor force and realize that they have a really hard time competing with the wages of the mines, and the average wage in this community is very, very high, very, very high. When you get into Dawson Creek, Fort St. John, you have that population base that will go for those minimum wage jobs. In Tumbler Ridge, is very difficult. I think if you talk to most of the business owners around here, especially the small business owners, one of the toughest things they have is employee retention, because they can't hold on to good employees. And I don't know how we fix that, because that is the major stumbling block that we have in getting and keeping businesses here.
Okay, any other ideas? Do you think that our tourism still needs to be pushed forward? Mountain biking is gonna do a big number on our tourism overall, I think. But also, you know, I'm just thinking about the advice that Sebastian gave us about leveraging UNESCO more. It's something we haven't really done, and you know, to include UNESCO when we talk about the Global Geopark is really the first step to start to leverage that organization. And realistically, it's a very well respected global organization, and we are part of a global community. So as far as promoting the Global Geopark and the museum and all of our natural beauty around here, that's definitely going to be a top priority of mine going through the next 3 years as well. So yeah, I'm just getting worried. I want to think about more diversification in our community. So, Councillor Norbury.
I agree with you, Mayor. I believe that diversification is absolutely what's needed. I just think that we shouldn't be leading the charge on economic diversification. I believe it needs to be up to entrepreneurs. And when we see these opportunities start to grow, people need to step up and jump in there. And I think the district has done, through our economic development office, has done a really good job in getting open for business. I remember watching the last council, and there was a big push on making sure Tumbler Ridge is open for business by getting the website up, by making it more approachable for businesses to come into Tumbler Ridge so they can hit the ground running. And I'll give it to the last council and staff at the time. Like, they made big leaps and strides to get to that level for being open for business. I think that's where our responsibility lies, in making sure that business can grow quickly and successfully here. We shouldn't be leading that charge. We should just have the soil ready for them to jump in and grow.
In your experience in Tumbler Ridge, have you seen business grow? Councillor Norbury.
That is a very loaded question.
It's not loaded for me. I haven't. There's still empty spots down there. So that's, we can sit here and wait for entrepreneurs all we want. That was the theme of the last council, unfortunately. I haven't seen it. So, we do need to pave a pathway for business, but we also need to try and attract business. No different than attracting teachers or doctors or anybody here. To find industry that is compatible for our community and attract those businesses to come here. Councillor Majinski.
Thank you, Mayor Bertrand. I'm going to use myself as an example, case in point of a small business in town. I took a huge jump from quitting my profession, starting a new business in this community 3 years ago, and it's proven to be successful, or still open for business anyways. But the main thing is knowing that there's a work-life balance, and you have to get that across to people. That's what I moved here for. I didn't want to be in the big touristy towns, the big, cities anymore. I wanted to be somewhere nice and quaint, quiet, and able to explore the backcountry and still be able to work and enjoy life, And that's number one. So if you want to start having businesses come to town, they have to have that kind of mindset. A little bit quieter, easier going pace of life, and they have everything that they need here. And which we do. We have great services in our community. We have everything that we can get, and that's part of it. And we just have to get that point across and saying that we are open for business. Anything you want to do here, and that goes for online stuff too, right? So, and we need to pull people from our surrounding areas: Grand Prairie, Fort St. John, Dawson Creek, coming here, whether it's for the tourism or for they want to start up a business here, an at-home business, or downtown core, get that going, that's just part of it. So
Yeah. I agree, Councillor Kukalka, Councillor Kirby.
Yeah, I'll be frank too, and good on you, Councilor Majinski, open the business you did. I think it was a need at the time, and hopefully a need forever, but it comes to local commitment. I mean, don't get me wrong, I didn't use signs at the beginning, and when you came and opened your business, it was, it's a local guy, use local. To me, we need to get local buy-in. Go ask some of the businesses that are within this community today, how much local buy-in they have. That's truly what you need to do. You know how many people I get calling me? I won't say twice a day, twice a week, but I hear from investors. Once every couple months, people I know from Vancouver or whatever, give me a shout, ask me what's going on, what do they think, what do you think? Yeah, I'll show my books to anybody. You need to get the local buy-in. You want to diversify. Well, you need to get, you want businesses to come tell me. You need to get local buy-in.
Yeah.
You need to get local support.
And maybe that's a campaign that we can initiate, is the shop local. I don't know, or the chamber.
Right? Well, man.
Yes.
So the thing is, these, to me, I mean, I'll speak about my own business. I'm not going to compete with the big guys. I'm not competing with a Walmart or an Ofers. That's not what I'm set up to do. I'm a private independent. I talked to some grandparents today. They're going to be doing toy bingo coming up. December 1st is their toy bingo. And they went to Costco, Walmart, told no. Wouldn't give them a donation. Right? What the local guys do. And it needs to be a local buy. You want more business coming to Tunbridge, we need to have the local support the local businesses that are here. Just like our craft fairs. Every time there's a craft fair, I go support those local
I agree.
home-based businesses.
Councillor Noble.
Kirby have something.
Sorry, Councillor Kirby. Councillor Kirby.
What was I gonna say? I think it's so hard to say we haven't seen anything. Downtown core is still the same. And it's too bad we're still on the mining thing. And Councillor Majinski, he moved here exactly why we all stayed here. After we came here, we moved. Nobody can tell me they're not moving here because they want to make money. You have to make money, you have to live. So we lost our second generation of kids the last time the big mine closed. So what's going to happen? How do we keep, we keep thinking about those. But now you're going to be looking at the people that are more my age, our ages. So we got to keep going on the healthcare. That's a big deal. Healthcare and education, keep fighting for that. We have it seems like more people in my age category have more, like they've planned for their retirement a little better. So maybe start looking at, we have that golf course. People come here golfing all the time. Look at that area. Maybe we offer that area up for investment on like a community senior living or something. If we can get this golf course thing happening, people will come here and be here just why we do. They don't want the busyness. They want to be here. If we've got good health care, we have an on-site doctor. There's gated communities all over the place. Maybe we look at something like that that's going to bring people in. Maybe a different approach. We've been always looking at, the job force. Maybe we look at the
entire region is lacking in senior housing, so that is definitely an opportunity.
Or
sure.
just another avenue. Maybe you can sell that to an investor who wants to, you know, have his first condo right on hole 1.
I've tried. He's not interested yet. Gotta keep going. Councillor Norbury.
Councillor Kirby brought up a real great point in that I feel where our focus should be, and that's creating a great community experience for people. And speaking with Peter Martin at Northern Health, he says that that's the one thing that we really can control, and we're doing outstanding at it. And that we have a community that people want to be in, that want to live here, and that's our focus. But sorry, Councillor Kakalka hit on something right on the head, and it's, I think we need to have community buy-in. You know, in that we heard from Mr. Wall in that we can't directly affect business because, I mean, that's against, like, there's laws, the community charter, all that sort of stuff, right? But what we can do is we can come up with initiatives that parallel business to a system, right? Something like the Love Tumbler Ridge initiative, you know, where we contracted them to teach businesses how to be more profitable. That's a great way that we can help business. I know I've spoken to residents before, and I think we should be pushing an advertising campaign to, you know, to shop local, you know, support local businesses, because as Councillor Kakalka pointed out, it's, you know, it's the local guys that are supporting our sports teams. Our local guys are supporting our kids and events, not Walmarts and Amazon, right? So we need to, that's something that I believe we should be going down, helping them become more profitable. But I mean, if we try and bring in a business by ourselves, or we're leading the charge, we could be potentially stifling someone from doing that. You know, and then that's my concern. You know, because we're taking away an opportunity for somebody who's really passionate about it, and an opportunity for them to make a living in Tumbler Ridge.
Yeah, I'm certainly not thinking about the district initiating any type of small business, taking opportunities away from any type of entrepreneur. I'm looking at much more of a bigger scale, like an industry type setting instead of like an entrepreneur or small business. Councillor Majinski, Councillor Kirkcaldy.
Thank you, Mayor Bertrand. Do you think we should maybe even add this to our Let's Talk? Because there's only 6 heads here. Maybe we see what the community likes to see come to town. What would they, if they have ideas? And then maybe we can be advocates for those ideas that they have. Just a thought.
That's a good idea. Councillor Kirkcaldy.
Yeah, so I guess maybe we should, I mean, I don't want to get on a motion, maybe it could be next meeting, but maybe we should direct staff, or maybe staff take the direction of a motion. Reach out to the chamber. You know, you talked about promoting or doing this, you know, support your local shops. You know, maybe it's support your local members. I mean, it's not just business, it can be a chamber member. It can be anybody. And I'm curious how many members they actually have. You know, we have them up here as grant writing. I can't remember the amount. Go back to my paperwork. I see they're coming up here to do a craft fairs soon with the funds going to the library. No disrespect to the library, but if I'm feeding tax dollars to the chamber, who runs for their members, and they're getting funds to the taxpayers to do things, we are going to do a market fair to sponsor another local not-for-profit society. I'm curious on how many members they have. I mean, myself, I'm a business guy, and I'm not sure if Councilor Majinski can relay it, but I know I haven't been asked to be a member of the chamber for 2019. I was a member in 2018. I haven't received an email, haven't received anything in the mail, haven't had anybody come through my business. I'm curious, maybe, I'm not sure if we need a motion to have staff reach out to find how many members the chamber has that we are putting money towards, not just through the fee for service. Is there any other money that we give the chamber? Is there a percent of the business license let's go to the
Mr. Wall,
chamber?
I don't believe so at the moment, but Mr. Wall.
The first, if I remember correctly, the first year the fee for service had more money, and then year 2 and 3 just had the business, or not the business license, the grant writing. So I don't believe anything else goes to the chamber. Could be wrong, but I believe
Yeah,
that
I think-
happens to be the case.
I think
We've offered.
I think we can follow up with Mr. Wall.
Do we need a motion for them to contact the chamber, see if we can get how many members they have?
I think we need a motion, but Mr. Wall, would you like a
we'll
motion?
just talk afterwards, that's fine.
We'll get that info. Mr. Wall.
One thing that we can do is, I think we've quietly been improving the district over the past 3 or years here, and we've made some really good strides. I don't think we acknowledge that quite enough. You know, we went down to UBCM this year, and we were looking at all the community excellence awards, and every single one of them were like, how was that community excellence? We did that, and we did that, and we did that, and we did that, and we did that, we did that, we did that. And we're not really marketing ourselves on the community side of things, which gets your names out there, but on the business side of things. You know, we have an incredibly low business tax rate. You look at, we did comparisons a couple of years ago on what the same type of business would pay in Tumbler Ridge versus Dawson Creek versus Fort St. John. And it might be time that we just start advertising those things to the greater area and make that push. But that has to come from, I think, our Rec Dev department, and also council, and mayor and council need to buy into it and be the people that want to promote that as well. We can put it out ourselves, but if we have crickets coming from our elected leaders and not wanting to push and not wanting to cheerlead, then it doesn't look very good either. If we work together on that, I think we can start to show the region what's happened. You know, you look at what happens when people come in, when we're quietly going about our work, and look at what we've done on all areas, whether it's the geopark, whether it's tourism, whether it's the steps we've taken on our business retention strategies, whether it's the land sale stuff that we've done. They all come in and say, what a great job you guys have done. We're not going out there and saying, hey, everybody, look at the great job we've done.
You're right about that.
And that could be something that we really focus on next year, is saying, listen, it's not just about moving forward, it's about taking stock of what we've done and telling people what we've done consistently and together.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think that would be a great addition to next year for sure. Okay, any other comments? Good discussion, thank you. Thanks for holding off. This time. Question and answer period. Any questions from the press
Yes,
about today's agenda?
sort of. Did you start this at the same time he did?
To
Start watch, so I
out
don't know
of
if the
re- out of
cameras
re-
picked you up.
out of respect to my fellow councillor,
Yes.
hold
Yes.
that information.
The mayor can grow a mightier beard than mightier mustache than I can.
Okay, anything else, Trent?
Yeah, there was a bunch of stuff, but it all has kind of fallen out. So.
Okay, no problem. So resolution to close, do we want to take 5 minutes? Let's go to close first though. Recommendation, please. Councillor Kirkcaldy.
Then the meeting is closed to the public according to the community charter, section 90. 1-C as follows. C, labor relations or other employee relations.
Seconder, Councillor Majinski, all in favor? Carried.